Hello, can you hear me? Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Hello and welcome to Atomic Movie Reviews Film Society. I am your host, Atomicon Rex. Here we discuss films that have a narrative background and aliens, ghosts, robots, and monsters. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. Okay, so I've been working on my little pet theory. I wanna exercise it, work it out right now, and claim it as my own pet theory. I haven't heard anybody else come up with this theory, so I am going to create it. So we're going to do a deep dive into what I call intra-cognitive entities. That's what this episode is going to be about. Who are they? What are they? Where are they? And why are they? Okay, definition. An intra-cognitive entity is a being that exists within or through consciousness, not as a material organism, but as a mental organism. Think, think Freddy Krueger, basically. Main concepts: theories that intracognitive beings activate inside of the mind instead of arriving inside of the mind. So yeah, that's kind of um, like there's this one movie, Doctor Strange, and I think part two, he talks about the dream dimension being various forms of dimensions that you could actually physically go through, but people dream them because they're actually dreaming up a variant of them. So a variant is actually real and living the dream life, living that life that they're experiencing as a dream, right? So when a person gets possessed, okay, it's it's them, okay, from another dimension that's within their consciousness. If that makes sense. That's kind of that's kind of the framework I'm working with. So let me talk about like the first intracognitive being that I could think of, which would be Eve, right? So in the biblical narrative, the Elohim put Adam in a deep sleep, and from this deep sleep, Eve is created. Now, modern science would have you think that some form of cloning is going on. That that they took this, like if we're gonna go with the astronaut advanced um, alien species theory, that they took, a species, a human species, Homo sapien, put him to sleep in some form of using some form of anesthesia, okay, and basically cloned it, all right, and got the female species, okay. That's not what I'm saying, okay. What I'm saying is that the Elohim put Adam or this Homo sapien to sleep, into a deep sleep. And then from that deep sleep, that dream dimension, apported a female version of Adam that really existed in the dream world, okay, and brought that Adam, the female version of Adam, into this reality, this real world. That's kind of what I'm saying. So it's basically like my first thought of Adam was basically meiosis, or like Pascal's pyramid. You know how you have like one cell divides into two cells, and then four, and then eight, and like it generates exponentially, right? It goes 8, 16, 32. That's how cells divide. That's how Pascal's pyramid is kind of formulated. And that's the way I kind of saw things, okay, in a natural, just a very natural process. Okay, there was once a chicken, and then the chicken laid an egg, like a magical egg, basically the first birth, right? But that's really just its meiosis. It's just splitting in two, okay? But that's not what I'm saying. My theory now with the intra-cognitive entity has kind of advanced beyond that, okay? And it actually explains why people die, or at least why Eve dies, okay? So, like, being an aport or a temporal construct, just something out of the dream dimension, right? It's just going to fade away and disappear. Like, it's just like any other aport. At least that's what I've learned from my research on aports. Aports are basically supernatural, instantaneous transfers of objects in seances, right? So, like a biblical narrative would be Jesus turning wine into water, or is it water into wine? Okay. But what the aport has to happen in the sense that wine and water are kind of like they're both liquids. So all that really happened was he took the water and teleported to where the wine was, and wherever the wine was, teleported into the jugs of water, right? So there's somewhere in a store in a cellar back in Jesus' day, there's a wine cellar full of water, basically. That's what I'm saying. That's what an aport is. It's a teleportation of objects through seances, basically. Okay. And so that's kind of what I'm saying that Eve might be. That's more likely that's what she is. She's a an aport from the dream dimension. That's basically what I'm saying. Okay, moving on, moving on. All right. So Adam as an Aragorn and Eve as an aport, kind of define that. Define. Okay, so basically how it would go like an Aragorn is a autonomous thought form created and sustained by emotion and beliefs, right? So how the chain of being would play out would be you have God, which is the eternal human being. Let's just say an eternal human being, something that's not born and does not die, right? This being creates Aragors that we call the gods or the Elohim, all right? But they're not actually born of God, they're just thought forms of God, but they're immortal. Now, Adam is a Aragor of the Elohim, like he's their creation. He's not actually God's creation. He's the Elohim's creation. He's the sons of God's creation. All right. And then furthermore, Eve would be an Aragor of Adam, like a thought form of Adam. So each level, like each entity, is coming out of the dream dimension. Okay? So you have God dreaming up the gods because God is alone. So he dreams up the gods, these immortal human beings. Okay? Then the immortal human beings dream up atoms. All right? And then the atoms dream up Eve, and so on and so forth. And so that's kind of how the chain or hierarchy of being in my mind is playing out. Um, okay, so the fourth kind in the film, let's see. Possible, real, and distinct intracognitive life forms that's not the person's consciousness, right? So modern science and modern psychology would have us believe that everything that happens in our dreams is part of our unconsciousness. What I'm saying is that no, that there's something in the dream dimension that could enter your consciousness that's not part of it, but your consciousness enters another dimension where it could pull things from. Okay, that's what I'm saying. That's what I think the dream dimension is. I think the dream dimension is its own reality separate from people's consciousness. Okay, variants. Okay, I think we all have a godly variant and a devil variant and everything in between. That's kind of what like the Hindu gods are kind of like saying. Like there's a good version of you, there's a bad version of you. Okay, and everything in between. And every dream that you have, every thought that you have comes, it's either it's a conversation between all of these different versions of you, all of these different variants of you. Um, okay, let's see. Moving on. Okay, so this this leads to the idea of possession and altered speech patterns, because when we witness possession, it seems to be coming from within the person, okay? But possession only happens if the person is in an altered state of consciousness, whether that person's dreaming or in a seance or meditating, okay? Only only then are these entities able to manifest in. So once again, I think it has something to do with the mind and the dream world. And I think that I think these demons or different spirits activate within us. So, like when it comes to like the UFO phenomenon and all the weird stuff going on with that, we hear about things about Greek gods and people getting messages from Greek gods, right? Talking to tall white beings and all of this nonsense, okay? But when you look at the camera, the person is talking, but he's not talking to anybody, okay? Like he's just talking to somebody. He reaches his hands out, he grabs something, but it's actually nothing, okay, on the camera. But the guy giving the testimony saying that he talked to a tall white, and the tall white gave him some information in which he was able to reverse engineer something and create some sort of technology, whatever technology that might be. But there's no actual physical evidence of that, objective evidence, apart from the person's human mind, the person perceiving the ghost or the Greek god. Okay. So that gives me another, I would say, I don't know, node or evidence towards the idea that these are all mental phenomenon, organisms, mental phenomenon that enter our physical reality through our dream states. That's what I really think that's happening. Okay, so to summary it up, okay, intra-cognitive entities are mental organisms. Dreamscapes are real. Everyone is a variant. God jumped up the gods jumped up Adam, Adam jumped up Eve, and this is the world we live in. I'm Tom McCon Rex out. Talk to you guys later. Bye bye.